Yakima.
From Central Washington's television news leader with Ken Crockett and Heidi Tauber, this is KIMA NewsBeat at 11.
Good evening. A prison takeover in Alabama has reportedly ended tonight with the release of all 22 hostages. Initially, about 40 guards and other employees were trapped by the uprising, but 17 were able to work their way to freedom. The inmates' demands were clearly spelled out to one CBS reporter.
The prison riot had attracted hundreds of law enforcement officers from all over Alabama. This is a relatively new prison, barely 2 years old, housing 1,000 state inmates. The break came late tonight, prison officials saying if they were right, the riot was ending.
Where we stand now. The hostages, we believe, have now all been released. The inmates, we think, are all going back. When we know that, the commissioner will meet with all of you and give you a definitive statement on everything that's transpired.
What transpired began this morning. About 200 of the inmates had taken over a portion of the prison. They had taken hostages. They had some weapons. At least 4 prison officials had been hurt.
Negotiations are progressing satisfactorily. At this point, we feel that there are 22 hostages, approximately 10 females and 12 males.
Throughout the evening after dark, a number of ambulances and official vehicles were allowed inside. It seemed that a showdown could be near.
However, there never was a showdown. Instead, the inmates backed down. One of the demands they finally came up with was that a TV photographer be allowed to go inside the prison with them to hear them complaints. I talked with that photographer a few moments ago. Here are the complaints they listed. Poor conditions, food and housing. Sexual harassment, they said. Unfair penalties for possession of illegal drugs within the prison. Guard harassment. Unfair promotion, meaning some being placed on trustee status when others felt they should be. And problems with homosexuals. All of these are fairly standard types of problems prisoners very often complain of. They certainly did complain outside of Birmingham today, and it almost led to a disaster that apparently is over tonight.
One of the 23 people indicted in Seattle today on racketeering charges is believed to have killed a Missouri highway patrolman this afternoon. The gunman pulled an automatic rifle during a traffic stop. CBS has the full report on today's indictments and the shooting.
Details are sketchy, but it's known one police officer is dead and another wounded after being shot by a man identified as David Charles Tate. Tate remains at large. David Tate is one of 23 people alleged to be associated with the neo-Nazi group, The Order, who were indicted today in Seattle on a variety of charges. Tate was accused of murder, counterfeiting, and dealing in stolen property. The Order, a white supremacist organization, has been charged with plotting the violent overthrow of the government of the United States. To that end, the organization has been accused of robbing armored cars to finance its goals and of murdering Denver talk show host Alan Berg, who opposed and ridiculed its aims. Death and destruction, the indictment says, were the Order's stock in trade.
Our seizures of explosives make this group as violent a group as we have faced within the last year.
In announcing the indictments, the FBI said it was sending a warning to anyone attracted to the propaganda of the radical right.
We have a justice system that is responsive and swift when you have hate groups and groups espousing bigotry cross from the threshold of rhetoric to the commission of violent acts or conspiracy to commit violent acts.
David Tate is one of 6 people indicted here today who is still on the loose. The FBI says the Order has been neutralized, but the case will stay open until all the fugitives have been apprehended. Richard Wagner, CBS News, Seattle.
There's less than an hour before federal income tax returns must be filed, and tonight the Yakima post office was a busy place. Parking places were in short supply, and those not wanting to get out of their cars found a long line of motorists driving by the mailboxes at the main post office at 3rd and Washington. It was a scene repeated all over the country tonight as an estimated 10 million Americans waited until the last minute to settle up with the government. Procrastination is a major reason people wait to file their returns, but having to pay Uncle Sam more taxes is another.
I had to pay money in. I couldn't give the government any money ahead of time.
We just now got it prepared, so just dropped it off.
No special reason, just hold out as long as I can onto that money before I have to give it away.
Because I'm not going to give them my money any sooner than they need it.
April 15th may be the deadline for filing a tax return, but it will be the end of April before Tax Freedom Day comes. That's when people will have earned enough money this year to pay all of their federal, state, and local taxes.
Members of Yakima's Jackrabbit Alliance and some other sympathizers staged a peaceful protest in front of the Larson building today to bring attention to how tax dollars are spent. Members of the group believe that many tax dollars are wasted, and they want less tax money spent on what they call weapons of destruction. The theme in the majority of protesters, with one notable exception, are holdovers from past tax day protests. The organizer of the effort, Albert Snow, says that he thinks progress is being made as a result of the group's persistence.
And I think that each year, I think the momentum for the cause that we're out here for is gaining strength, and I think eventually we'll succeed. I really do.
Snow says not everyone is completely against paying income taxes. They just don't like the way the money is being used. The protest was livened up somewhat by the late arrival of one demonstrator who wore a Ronald Reagan mask and carried an appropriate sign. 5 floors above the protesters in the local Internal Revenue Service office, it was last day business as usual, with last-minute taxpayers seeking answers to questions that were holding them up. Bob Romero reporting for NewsBeat.
A homeschooling bill considered too strict by some parents who teach their own children has passed both houses of the legislature and is on its way to Governor Booth Gardner. The bill is considered a compromise between fierce opponents of homeschooling and those who advocate teaching at home entirely free from state control. The proposal says that parents teaching their children at home must have at least 1 year of college. Otherwise, their children must be supervised by a certified teacher. The measure also requires students taught at home to take a state-approved test or be evaluated by a certified teacher annually.
Tri-Cities area teachers staged a mock funeral tonight for what they call the death of excellence in education. NewsBeat's Julie Humphreys was there.
A 6-foot velvet-lined coffin was symbolically brought in and filled with memoirs of better days for education.
In Kennewick, we even have cockroaches in our schools. And so as a symbol of the erosion of education in this state, I wish to bury Cockroach Killer and hope that the cockroaches will check in and never check out.
Each education official had a little different message to send Governor Gardner about what they consider his failing pledge to make education a priority in 1985.
Friends, as I gaze into this coffin tonight, I see the blighted hopes and dreams of thousands of small children. I see the efforts of many brought down by the indifference of a few.
This wake was held in lieu of a walkout because Kennewick school officials felt it would have more of an impact without disrupting classes. The most voiced concern here, teachers' pay.
A day when teachers would be paid a wage attractive enough to stop the flood of teachers leaving for the more lucrative jobs of garbage collecting, encyclopedia sales, and used cars.
But drama aside, educators want all citizens to write or call the governor and ask him not to shortchange funding for the state's primary responsibility. In Kennewick, Julie Humphreys reporting for NewsBeat.
Coming up, the future looks brighter for the world's 5th artificial heart recipient.
And miraculously, no one was hurt when a skyscraper caught fire in New York.
These are the famous tortilla chips. They are the same tortilla chips you get in many fine Mexican restaurants. And they come in 1-pound plastic bag with a twist tie to keep them fresh and crisp. They taste so good. And they come in 4 flavors. Best of all, their price outlaw the national brand. Reason enough to overlook the ugly bag and buy the famous tortilla chips anyway. Gracias.
I'm the Coachman Dalmatian. My name is Pete, and millions of miles have passed beneath my feet. I've led a mighty army to the great outdoors.
I'll get folks together like you've never been together before.
It takes a coachman to make the trip, so follow Pete, leader to the great outdoors.
Now you can get this cuddly Pete free while supplies last by stopping in at these participating Coachman dealers for a test drive or demonstration.
Spread it around, spread it around, spread it around, spread it around. Columbia paint is great.
Spread it around. Columbia is on sale this week. Save on interior and exterior paints, from our low-priced acrylic latex to our premium quality masterpiece paint with a 10-year limited warranty. Save on a huge selection of wall coverings. Check your local paper for details. Our paint comes at low factory direct prices at Columbia Paint Centers and participating dealers.
Spread it around.
Open Denny's menu. You'll find something unexpected. Oh. Like chicken cacciatore.
No.
Sure.
They tend to get a little more car.